Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at the Bumblebee and Spike Witwicky set from the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line. So I don't really know what to make of this line. From what I can tell, it's just an eclectic collection of mostly reissue Bumblebee figures from various past lines. It seems like most notably the Studio Series. They've just kind of pulled random Bumblebees from, previous releases and just kind of put them all together under this banner of Buzzworthy Bumblebee. I don't know. I mean, it does say War for Cybertron Trilogy up here, so I'm wondering if this was a Legends class Bumblebee that was meant for maybe Kingdom, and they just didn't have room for it, so they kind of pulled it into this. I don't know. I mean, I don't really get why this Buzzworthy Bumblebee line exists in the first place. I guess, Bumblebee's become a character up there with Prime as far as popularity at this point, and I still blame Michael Bay for that. But I guess because they renamed Cyberverse Bumblebee Cyberverse Adventures just to put his name across the front, I guess, to bring in kids. And I guess because that line's kind of ending, they wanted some other kind of evergreen Bumblebee line just to, again, have his name out there because, I guess he sells well with the kids. I don't know. But they have this kind of evergreen Bumblebee design down here, and I kind of hate it. I'm really not a big fan of this whatsoever. But this little guy looks fun. You can see the artwork up here is very G1 inspired. And I'll be honest, in this picture, it really looks more like Daniel. But, I mean, Spike was the one that always hung out with Bumblebee, so unfortunately, you don't really get a face, and we'll take a look at that a little bit closer on. Yeah, so on the back, we get to see the vehicle mode is very much, I feel like, more Cliff Jumper or Bumper inspired than Bumblebee, but the robot mode's not bad. And then the one-step conversion is to lay him horizontally. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get these guys out of the box, and we're going to take a closer look. So here they are out of the packaging, and honestly, Bumblebee's okay. I don't love the wings on the back. I feel like if they could have found a way to get away with these, or have them tuck under somehow. I mean, I guess tuck under is not really realistic, but just to have like this be the back of him, and then this be his torso, and these be his feet, I'm totally okay with that. I think that's good. Very kind of G1-esque as far as his transformation goes. I'm just not a huge fan of the wings on the back. I mean, they're not the worst thing, but I don't know. I just feel like he looks almost perfect. Like if you could just pretend those aren't there. That's a cool little G1 Bumblebee. Like I'm totally okay with that. Head sculpt is decent. You get the blue eyes there. You got the silver paint for the face. You have a swivel side to side. You don't really have any up and down, but like this panel kind of flips. So if you want him to look up and down a little bit, you can, but really it's just mostly side to side. You can see a ball joint there in the shoulder, ball joint in the elbow. Forearms are one solid piece. Nothing really in the waist, but you have a ball joint in the hip. And then you have pretty much 90-degree bend there in the knee, and then no ankle tilt. So, but that's because he's a little Legends class guy. I think he's okay. Autobot symbol on the front, very nice and sharp. I like the paint for the windows. I think that looks pretty good. You got some black and silver down here for the front of the car. And then you even have some paint in the back window there. So I'm actually impressed that they painted all the windows because they don't always do that. Moving on to Spike, or Daniel, I guess, whoever you want, because there's no face. He's just a silver cone head. Now I understand it would be a little difficult to... You couldn't really paint a human face on this thing, and you would have to kind of put the head inside and then put a plastic dome over top of it. And for how small this toy is, I understand that that's not happening. So painting the dome silver is the logical choice. There's not really much else you can do, but that doesn't make me like it anymore. I get why it had to happen. Now, at first, I thought this was kind of an upscaled version of the Headmaster for RC. If anyone remembers back in Titan's Return, they did a remold of Blur into RC and gave her Daniel as her Headmaster partner because of the Rebirth episode, the season 4, I guess, premiere / finale, because it was just only those 3 episodes. But I don't think that's the case. I think this is a new toy because there's no joints in the legs at all, and I feel like to remold that and upsize it, you'd see where the joints were, but I don't think they were ever here. I think this is they probably use that as a base, but this is a new mold. So it's painted decently. I think the kind of seafoam green, for lack of a better term, I want to call it like toothpaste blue. I don't know what to call this color, but it's kind of a nice paint job here on the kind of thighs and shins of the leg. And then you have the shoulders and biceps painted the same color. You have a little bit of yellow there, and then of course the silver. And then articulation wise, literally just his arms move 180 degrees, and that's pretty much it. We can do his transformation while we're at it. He has this panel on the back that you just flip down 180 degrees, and then boom, he is transformed. Sure. I mean, I guess at this point you can move the arms around a little bit more, so you get a little bit more range of motion there. But yeah, it's lazy. I mean, I get it. He's basically a little accessory, but it just seems kind of lazy to me. So I have very mixed feelings about this. I think it looks decent from a paint aspect. The transformation is super lazy. I mean, they could have at least just had him like be able to sit 90 degrees, maybe give him a bend in the waist there, just so he could, the legs could just swing up so he could sit down, form a 90-degree angle. That's all I would really expect. I mean, otherwise he's okay. His arms move. I get why the face wasn't painted. He's okay. He's nothing to brag about, but he's definitely painted better than I would have thought. And I just wanted to bring in real quick, here is Kingdom Legends Class Prime, and I feel like they scale decently. I mean, honestly, in like the old cartoon, Bumblebee would probably come up to his waist, whereas here he's about a head shorter, I would say. So the scaling's not terrible, but I mean, if you just want to say, hey, I want to collect a couple little G1 Legends class figures and put them all on a shelf together, they're going to look fine. They're going to look okay together. Megatron and Starscream are coming out in Wave 2, so then we'll have 2 on each side. I could see us, I know we're getting a Soundwave, I think. I could see us getting a Grimlock. That would probably be the end. I mean, those are the, quote-unquote evergreen characters that I feel like they've singled out of G1 as kind of the most popular. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got a Grimlock and then Soundwave, and then that's pretty much all your number one choices. But yeah, so they're okay. I'm going to go ahead and we'll get into Bumblebee's transformation here. Oh, I forgot to show off real quick before we do the transformation. He has this little gun, so there's not too much going on with that. Just pegs into his hand. It's very simple. Molded all in black. And just pegs into his hand. No biggie. Okay, let's go ahead now. Let's get into the transformation. Alright, so transformation's not too difficult. You can start by pegging the feet together. And you can see how they have these 2 pegs here. They're just going to peg in like that. And then you can flip this down and cover that up like so. You're going to kind of push the head down a little bit. So if it's rocked back, you kind of want to push it a little forward. And then this back piece is going to pop out and cover the head. And then this little tab here will kind of pop out like this. Now you're going to bring this down. You can see the hinge right in here. And this thing constantly wants to pop back in. But if you go ahead, bring this in, you can see how there's kind of like a little tab right there. And that's going to fit in there just to kind of give it a little guide. It doesn't really peg in, just to kind of keep it in place. So next, what you're going to want to do, you can see these shoulder pieces. This piece here, this little tab, should swivel 180 degrees or almost 180 degrees. Just push this all the way in. And I don't know why, but I feel like whenever I'm not on camera, this goes in all the way without issue. And then whenever I try to film it, it always gives me problems. And I don't really understand why that is. I'm obviously doing something incorrectly. There we go. And then that's going to peg in like that. So you bring this down. Maybe I go in like this. Yeah, this goes in. This pegs in. And then these wing pieces, you can see that there is a little tab right there. Or actually, no, I'm sorry. There's a peg hole right there, and there's a peg here. And then there's a tab here and a tab here. So this kind of has to fold down, clear this tab, and then peg into this. And then do the same over here. So that pegs in. And then that kind of clips around. And then there you go. There is the little vehicle mode. If you'd like to store the gun, there is a peg hole right there. So this can come in and peg right there. And it's okay. Like I said, I'm pleased that they painted all of the windows. Rolls decently. It doesn't really look like a bug. it looks more like Cliff Jumper or one of the other little penny racer things that these are molded after, or the original toys were molded after. So again, I like the Autobot symbol. I love that the windows are painted. Front of the car painted pretty nicely. Rolls decently. Just not incredibly G1 Bumblebee to me, because it definitely looks more like Cliff Jumper or Bumper or one of the others. It's not a VW bug, but still pretty decent. Cool little alt mode. Just for context, here is Spike in his alt mode. You can see that they're roughly the same length. Obviously, much smaller in the width and height, but you know, they look okay together. So at the end of the day, is this set worth it? Yes and no. He's okay. He's nothing special. I mean, I really like the look of him if he didn't have the wings. They're definitely my least favorite part of the robot mode, but I can look past them. They're not terrible. It's kind of just fun to have a little Legends class Bumblebee to go with the Megatron and Starscream and Prime that we're getting, and Soundwave eventually from Kingdom. So I think in that regard, you know, it makes sense. I think he was probably always planned for Kingdom, and then they just decided to put him in this other line just to pad it out a little bit, and then they came up with this. I know a lot of people will kind of balk at the price because I believe the set is $15, which does seem like a lot. I feel like they probably could have got away with like a $12.99, something like that. I mean, if you figure normal Legends class figures like Prime here are $10, you know, he's almost in scale. I will say I feel like a decent amount of paint went into this set. I really do feel like they went the extra mile to paint all of the windows. You have the nice paint down here on the front of the car. Spike has a lot of paint for as small as he is. Yes, he's kind of a brick and has no transformation, but he is painted nicely. So I still think they probably could have got away with $12.99, considering Bumblebee is smaller than most deluxes. I'm sorry, smaller than most Legends class figures. And, you know, they just kind of threw in Spike. I still feel like it probably could have been $12.99, but I don't think $15 is too egregious a price to ask. It's really just going to be up to you. If you want a fun little Bumblebee to tinker around with, then I say go for it. If you want a Bumblebee to have with your Legends class figures you're getting from Kingdom, I say go for it. He could have been a little cheaper, or maybe wait for a sale. If you have a coupon or something to Target, 20% off, I think that'd be perfect. You know, you could go ahead and get $3 off, and then you'd be paying $12. I think that's right there in the sweet spot for this guy. I do think 10 would not be enough, because he's almost the size of a normal Legends class, and you're getting Spike and you're getting that extra paint. So I feel like 10 is too low, but 15 is a little too high. So somewhere in between. But I still think it's a decent set. Honestly, it's not perfect. It's far from perfect, but I still think there's fun to be had. And I think, especially since they're kind of doing this resurgence of G1 Legends class figures, I think you're going to want to have a little Bumblebee to toss in your collection. And he comes with a little Spike, who, again, transformation not very impressive, but I think to just put him on a shelf, he's painted nice enough that he'll look good, you know, in with your collection. You know, he's not, I certainly wouldn't buy him on his own, but I think just being tossed in with Bumblebee, he's okay. So, fairly mediocre. I would say good, but not great. Diehard Bumblebee fans, go for it. Everyone else, maybe wait for like 20% off. I think would be a fair price. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.